All right, welcome to Real Estate Done Rightish, Happyish Hour Edition. I'm Jen.
And I'm Annalie. And for a combined 30 years, we've been working in this industry just trying to figure it out. And by figuring it out,
we mean we've only cried in our cars twice this week.
And I've been at home, so I've only been in my car once this week.
Yeah, 2 days ago when you texted me, you're like, so I feel like being human again. I still have a fever. Do you want to, I don't even remember even what the proposal was, to record at this, I think.
Yeah,
So
I was bored.
So we're risking it. I'm risking it.
I think this is like, it's cusping. Oh, we didn't say. I have COVID.
Oh, yeah. I was what's cusping?
I've been home. I'm cusping on like what what they say for like leaving your house.
Like you said it's a verb. Like, what's the word I'm thinking of? You know, in the winter when two people, don't look so scared. It's not sexual.
Okay.
You know, in the winter. In the winter, when two people, what's it called?
Cuffing.
Cuffing, yeah.
Yeah.
When they're like, yeah,
season.
you know what, we're not really in a relationship, but we want to cuff up with somebody because it's like hibernation season.
Yeah. Like
Anyways,
cuddle up.
You said it like it was that kind of a verb.
Yeah. Well, I'm
Cusping.
I'm on the cusp of like.
Guys, we just made something up.
Like when did I really start feeling symptoms? Pretty much right after we recorded this last week.
I know. So we're good.
And then, and I haven't had a fever in 2 days.
So here's what we know. Annalie's been laying around for the last 10 days. She came in. I'm like, what are we going to talk about? She's like, oh, I got a whole list.
I have so many things to talk about because I've been home alone. Well, I did go to an appointment yesterday. I did deal with not one, but 2 properties going into multiple offers.
That's crazy.
Well, I had COVID. We're gonna talk about that a little bit.
Let's talk about it.
But I spent a lot of time just like on the internet this week.
Surfing the webs.
Looking at stuff.
That's what they say.
I got so bored. You know when you are sick and you're just like, I have to turn the TV off.
Yeah.
I can't do this anymore.
Yeah.
I worked a lot, but
Yeah.
I also just was sedentary 24 hours a day, sick,
But
with like
ideas
103
came
and
to you.
104-degree fever.
What? I feel like, you were saying the other day, it's almost like being on LSD when not that you've been on LSD, but
I have not,
104
actually.
temp.
Yeah.
It just opens up the subconscious part of your mind.
Yeah. It's been a wild week. I don't know. I don't know. We'll see what comes out of my mouth today because it still might not be really great.
I'm ready for it. I poured myself a glass of wine, even though you're not drinking, because I feel like I just am ready to exhale. Like legit, this feels like what it's supposed to be, like a happy hour. I'm like, okay, we made it to Thursday.
Another week. Okay, I'm going to kind of lead this because I have multiple talking points to talk about.
I'm going to drink.
Did you have any wins this week that we need to talk about?
Oh, that's so sweet of you to ask. Actually, I do. So this week I don't know. I was talking to you and I was talking to another friend and just kind of this idea of like, what does it really mean to put the throttle down? And we call it balls to the wall, whatever. But so I really put a concerted effort into door knocking, not just flyering this week. And I was going to try to count it up before I came in. I'm using like a door-to-door sales app now. Mm-hmm. It's over 300 because I know how many things I printed, actual doors knocked this week. Which is amazing. And it was not as bad as when I first was door knocking 10 years ago. Like, because I really was scared and legit how did like 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. You know, like the Mel Robbins thing. This was like, I was talking to myself out loud, though. I was like, you can do this. You got this. Just one foot in front of the other. Like I'm saying this out loud to myself. So out of those doors knocked, I should go back and see how many answered. It was not a lot of people that answered, but there are 2 that I know will be selling within the next 3 months. So like hot leads. I don't have listing appointments yet. Now it's the strategic follow-up.
Yeah.
And I was working on that today. So I'm doing handwritten notes, and now I've got another letter I'm sending, and then I'm going to go back to their door, and like I get a little relentless then with those leads. So those 2 hot leads, and then I have another 15 people I added to my database. And so
amazing.
That feels amazing. And I was yesterday like getting in the car after I wrapped up, and I just kind of stopped. I was like out loud to myself, good job, Jennifer.
Yeah.
You know, like just celebrating the activity. That feels like
Totally.
the win for me this week because it's freaking hard. You know, I called you for the people that don't know our private conversations, which is
I record them all.
everybody.
They're in a,
Oh,
I have a private. It's a Finsta.
Oh,
it's just
God.
called Jen's voicemails or
Jen's
Jen's voice notes because Jen voice notes me all the time. She doesn't send texts. Sometimes
I'm
it's
so
annoying.
lazy.
She's
It
not a
is
texter.
annoying. I
She's a voice noter.
know.
It's only annoying because I
You
listen
can't
to them
remember.
and then they disappear. And then
No,
I
you
don't.
have to
Yeah.
save all of them, actually. Anyways, I called one day, like, you guys, I'm sorry if this is going to get repetitive, but for the next probably 2 months, it's going to be a roller coaster for me, like a really high day and then a day of like, is this going to work? And I hope this works because now it's on the podcast, but I'm like, This is the name of the game, is being just consistent and knowing that eventually the results show up. And if they don't, if I'm here in 4 months and nothing has shown up, I should quit.
Well,
not quit, but
not quit, but you might have to do. You might have to add something or
something. Yeah.
So sometimes, I always think of, there are 2 agents in our market center that their first years, one, they were doing like all the same activities. One just blew up immediately, and the other one did no business for, was it 10 months?
It's like 9 months, yeah.
9 months, and then closed like 32 transactions in the last 3
quarter.
months of the year. And so, sometimes your pipeline fills with the wrong people or the
wrong
not the
timing.
wrong people.
Yeah.
The right people, they're just going to do something later.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I mean, I think don't set a deadline on your takeoff.
I don't need an expiration date on myself.
I wouldn't.
No, yeah.
Yeah.
No, and I was thinking about, there's
as long as you're doing the
there's a
activities,
job
right.
opportunity that came to me. Did I tell you about that?
No.
I can't name it, but it's a real estate related job opportunity that would be like W-2'd. I'm not going to name it on here, but I'll tell you privately. Just save it in the what'd you call it? The Finsta? What did you call
Save it for the Finsta.
Yeah.
Now I want one.
Yeah, but there's that, and then we talked about some side hustle stuff. And if you're listening right now and you're like, can I make it? The reality is we might need to side hustle a little bit just to feel like we're not losing our minds and racking up debt. And, whatever anybody's individual situation is right now, I'm draining my savings, and it's scary. And that was money I didn't want to have to touch, but it also is providing me an opportunity to do what entrepreneurs do, which is take a risk and like hope for the best and put the work in. So here we are. There's some wins. By closing, that was supposed to close in June, I just got confirmation it's going to close in 2 weeks. That feels great.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Those are my wins.
Congrats.
What are your
You're doing
wins?
it.
Thank you.
I survived COVID.
I survived
again.
COVID. You made a good muddy water coffee. It literally looked like mud water, that thing in your Instagram.
Oh, that's what my coffee looks like.
What? What kind of coffee do you drink?
Shout out. It's a local business. It's Cameron's Coffee.
Is it good?
It's
I know
Keurig,
Cameron's.
but I like them because they're compostable little Keurig pods. I think it's like powdered coffee, pretty much.
You don't
like
use a French press.
I don't have time for. I'm so impatient.
Have you ever used a French press?
I have 2
You're
of
too
them.
impatient for that?
I like to have a cup of coffee like immediately.
You cannot think without it. Okay.
Anyways,
your coffee looked like poo water. It's gross.
What she's referencing is I posted on my Instagram that the other morning I was so out of it. I literally roll out of bed. I walk right to my coffee pot. Then I go to the bathroom. Then I usually take my dogs out.
That is priority.
Like I walk to the coffee pot first within like a minute of waking up. And I just
okay.
get it going because I like the smell of it. It's not even, sometimes
I
I don't
Honey,
even.
I Shrunk the Kids.
Yeah.
Do you know how they have that contraption? I feel
instant
like
one?
you need that one. Like, but
I should just have one on a timer.
why don't you just put it on a timer? Duh. I'm like, can you make a mousetrap contraption to get your coffee
go back to the
started?
80s.
It's like, oh wait,
They have those.
They have timers on the machines.
Well, I like the individual cup. It's a whole thing. Anyway.
Made the coffee. It wasn't that great. It was in a glass cup.
No, I went to pick it up off the coffee pot because I just use a Keurig, and it was in a water glass. And I literally looked at it and I was like, who put that there? I had no recollection. And I was so confused. And I was like, oh no, my COVID brain has
brain
landed.
Yeah.
No, I
you have
survived.
COVID, you survived it.
I put 2 properties under contract.
It's pretty amazing.
While dealing with COVID, to the dismay of our broker. I had a question for her and she's like, why are you working right now? This is not probably the best thing to be doing. So do as I say, not as I do. Don't work through COVID. It's not the best thing to do. Okay. But that was great. And I'm back and I feel like
You can lead this conversation. So the long story long is that in all of this time, you came up with a bunch of ideas that we're going to talk about today on this Happyish hour. Gotta get my mic.
We're going to start with some data and seriousness.
Oh, okay.
We're going to talk about some things that happen in the market.
Okay, let's talk about it.
And this is kind of this came out on Monday of this week. We're now recording on Thursday. This will be out on Friday. So it's a little bit of old data already. But I did think it was some really interesting notes regarding the GDP and how they affected the markets recently. GDP numbers were just what came out, and everybody was like, we're going to for sure be in a recession because the GDP is negative or went down or whatever it was. So what happened was what is the GDP? I'll start with that in case people
Gross
don't know.
domestic.
Yeah, it's the total value of goods and services produced in the economy for a period. So you look at the number. The key components that affect it are consumer spending, business investment, government spending, net exports, and it's the go-to measure of economic health.
And so, if I remember right, when that's negative for 2 quarters, that's technically when we would say we're in a recession.
I believe that's the measurement.
I'm pretty
Yes.
sure it is, yeah.
Okay. So in the first quarter numbers just came out. The economy shrank at 0.3%.
Okay.
And the stock market responded a little bit. And again, headlines everywhere were headed towards a recession. And it got political, of course, and So I checked my accounts because I have investments, and I was shocked because my stocks were back up almost to pre-tariff announcement numbers. Not quite, but they've recovered almost that much. As of like Monday or Tuesday. They're back down a little bit now, this late in the week. And so I was like, what is going on? Well, why was that number a decline is kind of the thing that we need to dig into. So
the GDP number.
The GDP number.
Yeah. Yep.
So because the headline is it wasn't maybe as negative as it looks. The biggest reason was imports. Imports surged 41.3% in the first quarter. Why did they surge? Why did imports
People were
surge?
getting them ahead of time?
Ahead of the tariffs. Companies rushed to bring in as much product as possible before tariffs kicked in. And so imports subtract from the GDP. It is part of the measuring. So it's not just what we are producing. It's actually exports minus imports as well. You subtract the amount of imports coming into the country. Because if we're relying too much on external, that's negative to our economy as well.
Yep.
So we had this reason for a huge surge in imports, which now brought our GDP actually into a negative. It's not necessarily that so the headlines showed a shrinking economy. The underlying story wasn't as negative, especially if that spike in imports was temporary. That's going to be something to watch the more the tariff stuff plays out. I think today the headline, I saw that they were making a deal with the UK today, the government, on tariffs specifically. So while imports was incredibly high, the other components, which were our consumer spending, that makes up about 2/3 of the GDP, business investment and exports, those all went up.
We say that again. Well, which one? What
so
went up?
the other components that go
Make up
into
GDP.
making the GDP, which is consumer spending, that makes up about 2/3 of the GDP number.
Okay.
Business investment
Yep.
and exports,
They all went up.
they all increased, which all signifies economic health.
Okay. Interesting.
So despite the headlines, actually things look relatively solid. The only thing that pulled that number down was that huge spike in imports.
So interesting.
Yeah. And that was the first thing that came out. And then jobs numbers came in. So on the first Friday of most months, we get labor market numbers. that focuses on jobs added, unemployment, wage growth. The economy added more jobs than expected with these numbers when they came out, and unemployment held. So more really positive, strong signs that the labor market is remaining healthy. So I just thought it was so interesting how if you're just reading the headlines and you don't actually know what's going on or the why behind it, you can be like, oh yeah, we're for sure heading towards a recession. But when we have also, I think, economically unique things happening, the why becomes more important, right? This isn't standard practice. Right now, we're in such volatility and so many different policy changes. And I mean, tariff wars are a big deal, right?
Yeah, it's so interesting. Thanks for bringing that up. I'm just like thinking about the different things that I've seen in snippets, whether it's on social media or the things I've been reading. And for whatever reason, the things that have been coming across my plate lately have been about the value of the dollar in general and different cryptocurrencies and the Trump coin and the different things that look like it could impact the value of the dollar. And and then again, we talked about in the market update, people moving from money from stocks to bonds and just all these different pieces that I've never honestly really been that keyed in on.
Yeah.
And now I'm like, well, I don't really have a ton to add to the conversation except that I'm aware of the things that I'm reading and hearing that aren't necessarily they're not the data. I'm not always going straight to the source of the data.
Yeah.
I'm hearing what the spin is on the data, depending on who's talking about it.
And then you have to be careful about where you're getting your news because if it's politically attached at all.
Sorry. What's the name of the head of the guy that...
The head of the Fed?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Have you seen it? Did you see the clip of him talking about inflation and stuff? Nope.
I don't think so.
Okay. Anyways, he was just talking about there was a lot of ifs, right? Like,
of course,
if the level of tariffs that they're talking about do sustain, then we could probably continue to see inflation to rise, and then it could negatively affect our economy. And so there's what's the real right now, and what's the potential in the future, and having a pulse on the potential of the future with whatever we deem reliable news sources. I don't even.
Well, and I just don't think that's so crystal ball right now.
Yeah.
Because how can you possibly put any semblance of surety on anything that's happening in the future right now? I think we just have to really focus on let's look at trend lines and let's look at how consumers are behaving based on today.
Yeah.
And then if we're trying to predict the future, I would put a whole bucket load of caveats on anything, I would say.
I think the other thing to note right now, and we've talked about this too, is that there's so much in the headlines all the time right now, politically speaking, about all kinds of things that can be noise, that can detract from what's the real hard, what are we really dealing with?
Right.
What do we need to be concerned about today? And that's hard, I think, for most of us to not get caught up in the drama and the inflammatory. And I'm not speaking to any one side of the spectrum politically. I'm just saying it's easy to get caught up in all of that and to just so this is good, just to boil it down and go, okay, where are we at today?
Well, and when, again, back to what we talked about in that episode, it's not necessarily all of the information is not going to be relevant to every one of your clients.
Right.
So remembering who you're talking to and don't bring the wrong conversation to the wrong person, right?
And for me, I'm not going to pretend to know what I don't know. Just right now, it's I don't know how much I can add to this conversation. I have just enough of a pulse to know, but I'm not going to go in and pretend that I can be an expert in something that I'm scratching the surface on.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Did you learn something?
Yeah, I did.
Have some more wine.
I'm going to fill up some more wine now.
I just thought it was
a lot. That was good. That was great.
I thought that it was really interesting because no headline said, listen, the only number that brought the GDP down was imports.
Right.
Nothing said that.
No.
It just said the GDP is down. And when the GDP goes down, that's bad. That's bummers.
You're right. It's why?
And so why that's big. That's big bummers for the peoples. so why didn't anybody just say, okay, but let's look at this a little bit closer? It's
there's so much ego. We don't want to because we want to tell the story we want to tell, and we want to Okay, cool.
Okay, moving on. That was our little baby economic, not so baby economic check-in.
That was great.
Okay, I have 3 more things we're going to talk about.
Oh my gosh.
The first one, I'm actually going to give a shout out.
Oh.
I came across, because I did some.
In the doom scrolling.
I did some hours of doom scrolling. I also, this COVID, I don't feel like eating. I don't feel like sleeping. I have a strange amount of energy. Like I walked 4 miles today.
4 miles?
A little bit, actually, like 4.5.
What is wrong with you?
I just was strolling. Like it's my normal walk. And usually
When
I do
you
it.
said that, I just imagined you like slowly sauntering around.
I was
like,
wearing all black and
"Hey,
sunglasses.
I have COVID and I'm feeling good.
I kind of felt like I was dressed in like a plague costume because I did have, it's very hot out and sunny, and I had like big black sunglasses and all black on. And I was like, oh no. It was a vibe. But I just was strolling around the lake, and I didn't mean to go that far. I was going to go somewhere and take an Uber home actually. And then I just kept going, and I was like, I don't need an Uber. I'll just walk. So yeah,
Wow.
this COVID's been weird anyway. I've been awake all hours of the night. Sorry, something's in my eye. So
you came across
I've been doom scrolling a lot.
Yeah,
okay.
I'm ready for it.
Okay, so I came across, he's gone. Hold on. I got to find him again.
Okay.
I had it all queued up. I was such a good, okay. I'm going to shout this guy out. He's a real estate agent. I don't know where he is even out of.
Do you think we can get him? Should we ask him to be a guest on the show?
Maybe. I think his
what makes him unique?
His content is pretty funny.
We don't like funny around here.
Wait, why can't I? I clicked the wrong button, guys. I'm not. Okay.
So you found this guy. He's got unique content.
Okay. His name is. Oh.
It's Dooba
That's his real. I don't know if you can hear that. His Instagram is Brandon Horatio Real Estate,
which we'll tag in the show notes.
We'll tag him. This is the one that I saw that had me giggle, and he takes all these videos of him just like walking outside a door, you can see, and drinking like a Topo Chico, just like a sparkling water, and it's just that. And then it's got words over it. And a bunch of his reels are just that, but they have different things over them. So this is the one that made me stop, and then I'll tell you a little bit more. So it says, back in school, they had us separated AP, normal, and remedial classes. The problem with real estate is they have us all together, and we are not the same. It really made me giggle. I was like, and he just showed up in my reels. And I was like, this is really great. Another one that I saw is, one of them, it's a lot of for realtors. So if you're a realtor, obviously listening to this, that's why I want to share it, because it's a lot of like realtor to realtor speak. One was, realtors are willing to work 80 hours a week to avoid working 40 hours a week.
Oh
that's
my gosh.
Wild.
Isn't that the truth though?
Yeah.
Well, for at least some of us, I think.
Yeah. Let's see. There was one other one. Being a man in real estate is not easy. No makeup, no extensions, no lashes. If you're ugly, you're just ugly. It's just really funny.
Oh, that's funny. That's good. That's a good shout out.
I wanted to shout him out. Check him out.
All right, Brandon, we're coming for you.
Smash that follow button.
Smash his follow button.
He's got like 23,000 followers.
Oh, we didn't say that when we started the show. Hey, if you're listening and you're enjoying the show, do us a favor and smash that follow button.
He is a creator, investor. He has a teaching real estate realtors to be consistent and scale. So he's training and doing different things. So I just wanted to
shout out.
I want to smash his follow button. I wanted to share it too. I didn't smash the follow button yet, but I'm going to. Remember, I couldn't find him. All right, that got weird.
Well, you hit the follow button right now. Just follow. Might as well do it. There we go. Now
I did it, guys. I did it. Now, if you want to, then we can talk about all his funny things that he says.
Yeah, that's great. I like it.
Okay. I also, this week, this is all things I saw on the internet.
Oh, this is great.
Also this week, next topic. And I want to ask if you saw it.
What?
Someone we both know who's a real estate agent in the Twin Cities in Minnesota posted what turned into...
I totally saw this.
And
I was like, did he listen to our episode?
Okay, so I'm not going to say who it is, but if you're in this market, you probably saw it because I feel like he has a lot of big community.
Yeah,
he's a big community guy. He posted saying, agents and lenders, if if you have an offer in on one of my properties, I don't need you both to call me and try to talk to me for 5 minutes or something to that effect.
Yeah.
It was kind of like, listen, I had 3 properties all in multiples this weekend, and that's it.
I
That's
don't
a
want
minimum
60
of
calls.
60. If the lender and the agent calls me on every deal that's in, that's like 60 phone calls of people trying to get 5 minutes from me.
Yep.
That's, how much time is that? 60 times 5?
It's a lot.
300 minutes?
Yeah.
That's like 5 hours.
People were talking about it in the office. I heard opinions on mostly on
Okay.
the other side of this. Yeah.
So obviously if people listen to, is our multiple offers out?
Yeah, it's out.
Yeah. Okay. That's COVID
it's
brain. I
COVID
can't
brain.
remember
Yeah,
anything.
it's out.
So, I'm kind of on his team. I'm like, I think it's time for agents to try to connect and differentiate themselves in a different way. I don't think if I don't already have rapport with you, the odds of you getting it by hounding me on the phone are going to be pretty low.
Yeah.
Now that's, again, it's my personality. And I think he and I probably have similar personalities in this.
Yeah.
I understand it.
Yeah.
I also, if I have, I had 2 properties in multiple offers and I had 104-degree fever. I didn't remember who was calling me. I mean, people were, I will say.
It is hard to keep track of
I will
that.
say, but I'm not going to remember you unless you do something really memorable in that few minute phone call.
You know what this turns into? This is like The Bachelor when you have 20 women meeting The Bachelor and you have to bring in a donkey.
Oh my gosh, I almost just spit water out. If you delivered a purchase agreement on a donkey,
you'd remember
I
it.
would remember
Yeah.
you. But this is what I'm saying though is, right, how do you become... I do think that this is becoming a thing.
Okay, let me tell you. Can I tell you what I heard?
I
on
would
the
love
other
to
side
hear.
of it?
Yeah, I would love to hear.
And I'm sure you saw some of it in the comments, but the very unfiltered behind the scenes conversation, literally at the water cooler here in the office the other day, was like, I'm sorry, but as an agent, that's your job. If you're like, woe is me, I got multiple offers on a property. If you're going to do the best service to your client and the best service to the industry, it's professional to take all the phone calls and not bitch about how and I'm not saying you're bitching about it.
No.
I understand the perspective, but I could see the other side of it. That was like, what?
I want to say I agree with that.
Yeah.
It is my job to take all the phone calls and to be gracious and to answer questions and to give information.
And you do.
To the point that I did for 2 days while I
had 104 temp.
104 temp.
Yeah.
I just think where it gets lost on me is if you are an agent that on the buy side thinks that is going to get your client the deal done if their terms aren't the best.
Yeah.
Or as a listing agent, if you are allowing somebody to break that barrier through a phone call and you're now trying to get their offer accepted if they don't have the best terms for the seller, that's where it starts to also get muddy for me. Because I know agents, again, who have bragged about, I got that deal done for my clients, even though I know that they had better terms on the table.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
So what did you do to that listing agent to get them to convince their client to take less desirable terms? Yeah. That's concerning to me, right? Yeah. So again, this is why we had a whole episode on it.
So I think this is super legit. And I think one of the conversations that I've been having with people just in general outside of real estate is even that we tend to think in very black and white terms. It's either this or it's that. And that as a society, we need to be better at not polarizing and having a nuanced conversation. And I appreciate this because that's what it is. It's not like, no, you should never call. And it's not like we should always do this. But it's saying, listen, there's a lot of perspectives to this one topic. And that to me is also where emotional intelligence comes in. Just how do you navigate this instead of just well, what's the rule? Tell me what to do. It's you gotta feel it out. You gotta know who the agent is. You gotta know what this. Yeah. And
it's
also,
so
I think
nuanced.
You're right. Maybe it's time to consider how can we get creative here. I don't know what that would be. If it's donkey.
Well, I think it speaks a little bit to me of why networking in your market can be really powerful.
Sure. Yeah.
Why being a presence where you're going to trainings or you're training other agents, giving back to the community and connecting with agents in a different way. I think that's a really important part of real estate, or it can be. I know that when I see an agent who I've done 3 deals with in the past, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I love working with them. They're so great, and it's fun, and it's simple, and we communicate really well. I'm like, oh,
Yeah,
when I
it's
see
a
their
relief.
name come across my desk, I'm just like, yes. And then I've had literally where I'm like, oh boy, I really hope this person doesn't rate the best
and
offer.
I think that's like a really important thing to note, though, because best offer, when we're just looking at terms, like you said earlier, it's like, okay, you don't want to convince your seller to pick terms that are poor because it's an agent that is not going to do a good job. But,
Well, you said both. You said you don't want to convince
did
them.
I say it backwards?
Well, you said you don't want to convince your seller to take an offer
That
where
has
the
bad
terms are
terms.
poor and the agent is going to do a bad job.
Oh, yeah, other
Well, that
way
would
around.
be real bad.
Why
No,
would
you don't want to.
Why did
You
do
don't want to
that?
convince them to take terms that don't make sense
if,
for
if
them.
all terms are equal or equal-ish,
Yeah.
if we're using the ish standard,
Yeah.
then it is a variable that's important, because not only is it just about the terms. I've been in situations where it's like, this deal might not close because that agent was actually negligent. They weren't just a poor communicator. They
Right.
were a bad agent. Like, they maybe should not have their license.
Well, and I think we touched on this in the episode. I
Yeah.
can't remember because we talk
Yeah, a lot.
a lot. We have a problem. But I don't think that it's my job in that. My job in that case is to manage that agent and to deal with that agent
Yeah.
if the terms are the best.
Yep.
And it's if I think it's going to be potentially something that's going to come up in the transaction, that's when I will tell my seller, just so you know, I'm not going to tell you this to not take this offer if this is the best offer for you. I'm a little bit concerned about this agent. I've done 2 closings with them. Both of them almost didn't close, or they were very tricky, or they disappeared on vacation for 2 weeks and didn't answer their phone, or whatever it was. And it's my job to manage that, and it's my job to get you through that. But I do want you to know, just because my spidey senses go up when I'm dealing with this person. I will also say, just so you know, I've done 3 deals with this person and they're amazing. I have every confidence that things will go really smooth.
It's a variable.
Yeah, well, yes and no. Again, I feel like it's something that the seller may or may not want information on.
Yeah.
It's our job to figure it out and to deal with that person.
Yeah. Well,
so if you're bringing too much of that to the table,
I guess the other piece of that to me is, well, again, it's your job to negotiate, but I'm just kind of thinking through. I'm playing devil's advocate here, but I'm like, okay, if they're not a great communicator, they're not a great negotiator. Sometimes people are illogical on the other side of it. Like, they're trying to negotiate with you, and what they're trying to negotiate doesn't make logical sense. Like, and like in those scenarios, it's kind of like, this, just because the terms are good, how are they going to show up in the inspection negotiation? How are they going to show up if this doesn't appraise? Like, it's an X factor that you don't know how to assign value to it, but I do think it's a variable in the equation, It
100% is. My question is just, how much of that do you share with your client?
Yeah,
I think that's a really gray.
Yeah, I agree.
A really gray area, because also, how do you know the last 2 times you were working with them, they hadn't lost their assistant and they were hair on fire and they were doing a horrible job, or
it could have been years ago.
I know I maybe didn't do the best job when I was caretaking for my dad who was sick. Like there were probably transactions where the people were like, we haven't heard from her. Like I did everything I needed to do, but I wasn't the most communicative, or I wasn't the most on my game. So I also think you have to be careful about that, right?
Yeah.
Like,
for sure. Yeah.
So
this is good. That's good. This is good conversation. I feel like people appreciate the fleshing out of it, and just like hearing, you should, this is another topic for another day, but I'll just bring it up now because I just started to bring it up. But we started talking we were in Continue Ed a couple days ago and talking about escalation clauses. And I was kind of shocked by the polarity of opinion and how to handle escalation clauses. And I was like, well, so maybe we do an episode on that. But but like,
I think it's another one of those.
It's also like, we got to just pause. And this is, again, I mean, of course I'm thinking of politics, but I'm like, how can we just pause and try to see the other perspective and just understand, especially in real estate, when it's like, if you're representing the seller, X, Y, Z holds true. But what about if you're representing the buyer? What's actually in their best scenario? And like, And where is your ego getting involved?
Well, my problem with most of these topics is that people do tend to, like you say, they tend to fall really hard one way or the other.
Yeah, like, no, we never do. And I'm like, whoa.
Yeah. Or like if an agent ever said to me, I don't take escalation clauses, you don't, because that's not your job. Your job is to let your client make decisions and decide what's best for them. So I'm okay with it if your client said, I don't want to take escalation clauses, but did they get the option?
I don't know if you know what kind of fire you're walking into right now.
Well,
no,
listen,
I don't disagree with you.
I will say, I say this in trainings all the time. If you are ever making a decision on behalf of your client, you are doing the job wrong. Your job is to educate the client on the decisions that are in front of them and what's best, and then they get to make the decision that's best for them. You're also asking for a lawsuit. The second I start saying, list at this price, don't take an escalation clause, do this, and then it goes poorly or it goes not in that client's favor, you got.
Do people still say mic drop?
Well, I just think that if we could all keep that at the center of everything we do in real estate.
And here's my bias in this situation. I feel like when somebody says, no, we never do this, and this is what you should do, to me, I'm like, it's your ego. Or, and maybe that doesn't matter, but maybe it doesn't matter to judge like why people get into that situation. But I'm just kind of like, yeah, I don't know. I don't know how to unfiltered to be on this, but I also have opinions on it.
I think also, I would say very quickly, have you talked to an attorney about that? About having that stance?
Yeah.
Have your clients?
Yeah.
Because that's, again, okay. I just think that people get it a little twisted about what our job actually is at some points, to the point that some of my clients are like, just tell me what to do. And I have to say, I can't. And they're like, why? And I say, because I'm not you.
Yeah.
I don't have your job. I don't have your economic situation. I don't have your familial situation. If I make a decision for you right now, I would be bringing all of my stuff to that decision. And how is that going to best serve you? How can I possibly best serve you? Because I'm not you.
Yeah,
I don't have your anxiety. I don't have your this. I don't have your that. Like, I don't know what's best for you.
It's also just like really genuinely, I think advising and educating and actually educating go hand in hand. But in order to thoroughly educate, we have to be able to understand all of the perspectives. So if we're talking about an escalation clause and I'm sitting in the class and I was like, okay, wait, can somebody break it down for me? Why are you opposed to them? And then people started sharing their perspective. So I'm like, okay, I feel like I have a more whole perspective now on why agents hate it. And I'm going to be honest on it. It was the agents who had a preference towards it because their perception on how it would benefit or not benefit their client. And then there were other people that were like, hey, and again, maybe we should do a full episode on escalation clause, but I'm just like, there's a case to be made on all sides of it. And if you're missing, and a part of it is actually the skill side of it. It's like, okay, we're here. I'm just going to say one of the things about escalation clauses.
Yeah. You're really taking away the time from all of my Instagram topics, but just kidding.
Yeah. But one of the things was, okay, I don't take escalation clauses because this is a statement that was made. I'm not verbatim, but like, I don't accept escalation clauses because I want to know that the buyer's putting their best foot forward. And it feels to me like if they offer it, so if you're new or if I don't know if every state is this
I'm
is
not
practice.
Sure, yeah.
But what an escalation clause would look like is, let's say the property's listed at 400, we offer 425, and I'll say the offer is 425 with 15,000 over the highest. I'm just whatever.
15.
Oh,
well,
I don't know, 5
1 or 2.
Okay, 2,000 over the highest purchase price, not to exceed 450 or whatever the amount is. Okay. So then somebody said, well, I don't really like that because it feels like they're playing it safe. We want a buyer who's not playing it safe. And then to me, I'm like, but they just revealed their entire hand.
Counter them.
They just, exactly. So the point was, well, this person was arguing that we're leaving money on the table for the seller. And then it's like,
not necessarily.
But that's a tactic and a skill. You can just come back and counter it and say.
Also, why? I've had escalations escalate each other all the way to the tippy top. I've had, why is it leaving money on the table? They also just showed you exactly what their absolute max for this property was.
They gave you their highest and best.
It's in the contract.
Yeah.
It's their max.
Yeah.
So not every market supports this.
Yeah.
But I had sellers that countered at the person's max.
Yeah.
They said, we do not have another offer that supports this, but you told us you'd give it to us. We want that number.
Yeah.
And the buyer did it.
Yeah, because they don't, and if you are in multiples and they're coming in with an escalation clause because you're in multiples, it's like, it's easy to say, yeah, we're in multiples offers. And whether or not the second was even close to that, it's like your job representing the seller is to get them the best terms. Okay, your options now are we can accept one of the offers on the table or we can counter one.
Yeah.
Or we can reject them all.
I've also had sellers that are open to escalation clauses. Again, I leave it up to them if they want to be open to it or not. And
but why wouldn't you be open?
I don't know. Some they don't get it, or they
what
don't.
What other
or they're
people in the room were
confused.
saying was that they were like, a lot of agents will say they don't, quote unquote, don't accept escalation clauses because the math is too complicated for them. They were like, it's too hard. More than one agent was like, no, it's too hard for people to figure out. They just like get frustrated with it. I wouldn't be surprised.
Oh, come on.
I
That's
know.
okay. If that's your reason, go buy a calculator, Excel spreadsheet, and
Should we link it? We link it in the show notes.
Like that just broke my heart. That makes me sad. Okay.
Okay.
I don't know why someone would be against them, but I've had multiple sellers where I've said, this is where we also get realistic. This person was willing to give up to $30,000 more for your house. I think we're already pushing up against appraisal
but if
potentially.
They had appraisal gap coverage in there.
Correct. But also, how much is your house worth?
Yeah.
And I've had sellers that are like, no.
Like it feels icky?
It feels icky.
Okay.
We're not going to push them. We get it.
Yeah.
We're also buying. We understand the use of an escalation clause.
And this is like the psychology part of real estate and the behavior, the buyer, consumer, seller behavior it's not just numbers.
No, I actually will say that I've had a lot of multiple offers this year, and I've had escalation clauses on many of them or multiple of them, and none of my sellers chose to go over. They were like, you know what? We also can see trends when you get multiples. Like I had 9 offers on one property, for instance. 3 were one was cash way under asking. They just thought cash was king and they were going to get it. And then 3 all had no inspection and they were like 10,000 over asking. And then 4 were all really close to each other. 2 using escalation clauses, 2 not, with inspection. And 2 that were the top 2 escalated each other up to be within $2,000 of each other. And they both got to one escalated the other to the top of its, which,
Wow. Yeah.
And we sat down and we talked through all of that. And I said, isn't this fascinating? Your buyer pool is so educated that they all said, no inspection is worth this to us. And every single no inspection offer was identical.
Wow. So interesting.
Your buyer pool is so educated that the ones that wanted an inspection were willing to go here.
Yeah.
And they all went within $6,000 of each other.
Wow.
So when a seller can see a trend like that, they're like, yeah, don't push them up another $5,000 or $10,000. Like, no.
Yeah.
They know what the market is saying this home is worth, and that's what they gave us. And the top person gave us what the strongest tippy top of what that market is saying it's worth right now. We don't need to take more than that. That's absurd. And so I don't know. I've had a lot of people when they get it, they get it. And we can see those trends. They see them. I think, but that's also
morality and
it's also like educating them on,
Yeah.
So anyway,
Good. That was a good happy hour conversation.
Yeah.
This whole time we've been chatting, I've been thinking all of the conversations we've had over the last several years, we're like, we should be recording this. That's what this is turning into right now, where we're like, not necessarily following the script, but this is what we'd be doing.
Well, we don't have a script. I got some random
bullet
scribbles on a
points.
paper.
Anyways, we're having happy hour talking about real estate. What do you got next? What's the next bullet point?
We're gonna circle back to it's all about me and how I have COVID.
Thank God. That's not about me
And I
this
wanted
week.
to ask you.
Yeah.
So this sickness was one of the hardest things I've worked through.
Oh, man.
And I really should have passed my business off
Yeah,
again.
you
Do as I
should
say,
have.
not as I do. But I told you at one point, I said, it's going to be harder again with 2 properties and multiples. My name's on everything. Everybody's calling me. I was like, it's going to be harder to pass this off to somebody else.
Yeah.
Get them to connect with my seller, which I would want to be on the call anyway.
Yeah.
Get them in the loop.
Yeah.
Also, they don't know my seller.
Yeah.
One of them did. One of them I have an agent who does because she's working with them on the buy side. But the other one, I've known this woman for 4 years and I've been intimately working with her on getting this property ready and dealing with all kinds of stuff. Nobody else knows her.
Yeah.
I'm not going to throw her with just somebody else to start making these decisions. And so it just, in my case, it felt
Like you needed. No,
I
get
just
that.
it was just
Yeah.
easier to do it myself.
Yeah, I get
It
that.
honestly I think would have taken more time and more energy to try to get somebody
Pass
else
it
in
off,
the
yeah.
in the shoes.
Yeah.
I also strategically with my seller, they just said the one seller just said, "Oh no. We're pushing the timeline out 2 days."
oh, good.
They're like, "You
need to not. Yeah.
They're like, people can wait.
Yeah.
You need another day. Like this isn't
That's
fair."
great. Did you communicate then to people or like put in the show notes or the show notes, the agent remarks or anything? Did you say, hey, I have COVID. We're taking 2 more days, or was it like we're extending the deadline?
We had a loose deadline set. We didn't
Okay.
have a
Got
firm. And so then when we set a firm, we
Yeah.
pushed it out further than we had planned.
Yeah.
And I was communicating with everybody
Yeah.
that I had COVID. And I was saying,
I'm an idiot today.
no, I was saying to everybody, like, please double check everything with me.
Yeah.
Don't trust
that's
me
so
right now.
good.
I'm doing my best, but like, know that I have a
When you have
fever.
104, it's not like a 99-degree temp and
Yeah.
a headache. It's
Right.
like 104 and hallucinating.
I wasn't really hallucinating. But anyway, so it was one of the hardest things. I wanted to ask you, what's the hardest thing you've chosen to work through in this business?
Oh, it's going to be sad. You want to hear it?
It's a death.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was, I don't know, a few years into selling again when I got my team up and going. So I did have a team at that point, but we had some clients that though the husband was like stage 4 cancer, I can't remember what he was going through. They were a little bit older and the first buyer fell through. So I was representing the seller on that side. The buyer fell through. But they had already moved out of the property and were like, they had everything in storage and they were like living in a hotel room in between homes and we had to relist the home and it was a mess. So it was already like a mess and they were upset with me. They were just like, this is your fault, even though it wasn't my fault. But I'm like, okay, I'll pay for the hotel room for a month and I'll pay for your storage unit. And I just was like trying to make it right somehow because I felt horrible for them. Well, also, my dad had died during that time frame.
Oh, gosh, yeah.
So the day that we got the next offer in was the day after my dad died. And so I'm like, it's too complicated of a scenario for me to not get on the phone and negotiate this. I'm like, I can't leave them now after they're going through this hard thing. But I'm like, okay, it was a moment of, I've just got to like not cry for 20 minutes and like totally compartmentalize and work through this. And that was one, there's a lot that I did hand off. And thankfully it is hard to be a solo agent. Like if you're not on a team or if you don't have close colleagues, like if that happened now, I'd be like, hey, Annie, can you take this?
Yeah.
Like I'll pay whatever. But like, it's hard if you don't have anybody because you don't have a choice.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was the toughest thing I worked through. Not funny, but it was real.
No. I didn't think it was going to be funny. I asked hard.
Yeah,
I didn't say
hard.
what's the funniest thing you worked through.
That was the hardest thing.
I mean, same. I was in the middle of a negotiation the day my dad died.
Oh.
And I had a client, she had already agreed, and lovely, love her to pieces.
Yeah.
She had already agreed to, I think it was the inspection that we were negotiating. And I let her know my dad had passed, and like 2 hours or like an hour later, she called me and she just needed to talk through her decision again for like an hour. And my brother was like,
She knew
"What
your
are
dad
you
had died?
doing?"
I feel like I remember you telling me this story.
"What
I'm
are
pretty
you
sure we said
doing?" And I was like, honestly, I mean, just take an hour. It's fine. And he was like, "You are a psychopath." He's like, "What is What's wrong with you? I mean, in my client's defense, I was like, it's fine. I'm here.
You allowed that.
I got you. I allowed it. I wasn't like, and I was in an okay place. I mean, not ideal timing.
Yeah.
Would I have rather not done that?
Oh my gosh.
Sure. But yeah. I mean, like I think real estate agents we're a little messed up in the head.
Messed up. And like, that's the funny way to put it. But I will say that like, I'm curious if it's entrepreneurship or if it's real estate industry, but I'm like, you have to have a level of resilience and like whatever, getting your business off the ground, like making it work, working through hardship, working through the ups and downs. Like you really do have to be like, you have to be a little bit of a different breed, I think.
Yeah. I think it's also just like
You get used to it, I
it's
guess,
so
too.
personal, also. And like this particular situation, she had lost her dad, and we had, and like she was talking me through, like she was talking about that. And so like, it's so relational. It's so relational and so like you can get so personal with your clients that it is kind of like, well, we're in this together.
Yes.
It's just, it's like big life stuff, right?
Yes,
What's one of the most stressful things to do is like sell your house and move. And so I think it's right behind like death and public speaking or something like that is like, so I'm just like, well, we're doing really hard things together. And I feel that like a lot when I'm like, gosh, I'd rather not be working right now because I'm dealing with life. I'm like, these people are also dealing with life. So I probably do that again, a little bit, maybe too much.
Yeah. But I think you probably do a little bit, but like, yeah. And I think that's a really good point. I think when you're in relationship with them, it's still work, but it feels less like work. What's hard is when you have, I'm going to out myself and probably every agent that's listening, but like sometimes we have hard clients.
Yeah.
Sometimes they don't feel like family and they can take advantage of our time and our effort. And I do think it's important to set boundaries where we can, but it's hard sometimes when you have, like I remember I had one client, she was 90 something. She had a townhouse and we went to the nth day. It was like a low price point townhouse, but it was like, it doesn't matter. We're going to help this woman. She was moving out into assisted living and she didn't have anybody to help her move. And so me and my team helped her box up her things and move all her things. And then her son, for some reason, thought we were trying to take advantage of her. And he got so mad at us and I couldn't, it was illogical. And I'm like, I don't even know what, I'm like, my team members, like there's just the kindest humans ever. I didn't know what was happening. And it was the one bad public review that I got was from her, but it was really via him. And so there's this element, I think, even of fear of like, well, if I don't have this conversation the day after my dad died, will I get a bad review and will that ruin my business? Like, I think, and I thought that too, like you have, like, they were already upset with me. I was already doing everything I could to like patch the situation together. And you just like, don't want to, you're thinking about a lot of variables. Anyways. Okay. Happyish hour.
Nailed it, man. This is I really bring in the heat with the happy. Guys, God, I've been alone.
We need some more stories of the craziest things you've seen in houses.
Yeah, or I almost put up a prompt this week about what's the dumbest time you worked when you shouldn't have, or like what's the because like I shouldn't have really been working this weekend. No. I should have probably just said I need to just, and I could have probably just paused everything. Everything was in multiples. I probably could have just communicated and said, I have COVID. I need 48 hours to just like feel a little bit better. But again, you live and you learn.
Yeah.
Do as I say, not as I do. Don't do what I do.
Yeah.
Okay. I have one more topic.
Okay. Can't wait.
This is getting very like situational real estate stuff heavy, but I also think this is really funny. I don't think I've told you this.
Oh my gosh. Okay, can we just say if you have not listened to the last Happyish Hour episode, I played a piece for my mom the other night.
Yeah.
Because I think it's so hilarious. Like, I've listened to that episode probably 4 times, and I was in the office the other day, and I can say his first name because there's many people.
Yeah.
Can I say his first? Yeah. David.
Yeah.
Anyways, he was like, I was having a horrible day, And he turned around to me in this training wearing Continue Ed. He was like, I was having a really bad day, and I turned on your guys' episode, and it made my day. Like, it just made me laugh. But I do that. I'm like, I know I'm biased, and
Love
it's
that
kind
you
of
listen
silly,
and you're like, I need to hear us to make me laugh.
but it's so funny. Anyways, okay, yeah,
Okay.
situational.
Yeah, this is all like very real estate situational heavy.
Yeah.
So last week I taught a class. You were there.
Yeah, I was.
And I got
killed it.
kind of, it was all about listings. I got a little pushed on somebody coming into like an open house, unrepresented and not wanting representation.
Yep.
Right. And when I'm in front of a class teaching, a lot of times just like what I would say just kind of rolls. I don't really think even. And I was just like, I also just said, I've not had that happen, which in my defense, it still didn't happen.
Wait, break down what that happen is, because I think we flew by that.
No, a person coming into your open house, unrepresented, wants to buy the house. I forgot that part.
Yeah.
And does not want representation. They're going to represent themselves.
Yep.
And we scripted on like, great, bring me a purchase agreement. All the way to, well, I don't know how to access the purchase agreement. Bummer.
You're unrepresented.
I
don't
can't
know what
represent
to tell
you. We kind of talked through different things.
Mm-hmm.
Now again, careful what you say out loud.
Did this just happen?
I got an offer on one of my listings.
You are such a manifester.
I know,
about human
I
design.
know.
You manifest things like crazy.
I also, the night before I got symptoms of COVID, I was like talking smack about COVID and how it's gone and how nobody gets COVID anymore. I woke up the next day with a fever and I was like, what
do you want to manifest?
I know.
Let's start talking about that.
So anyway, so I'm talking about how like, I really don't have this happen. I really don't have unrepresented. I don't know. It's probably been over 10 years since I've had an unrepresented buyer, like really push it. I get a call on Friday night. Hi. And she introduced herself. I'm not an agent, but I am writing up an offer for you on blah-bitty Street. I was like, awesome. And she said, so I'll have that over to you later tonight or first thing tomorrow. I said, great. I have a pre-approval. I have an earnest money check written out.
She seems like she has her ducks in a row.
She's done this before. I could tell.
What?
It's a multifamily property. So I was like, she's an investor. She's probably done this multiple times.
Okay,
So I'm like,
gotcha.
okay, whatever. And instantly I'm like, well, and I didn't have any other offers on the property at this point. It's been on the market for a week, so not a long time. Super unique property, record-breaking price point for the neighborhood, like way over high end over, because it's super unique. So I'm like, okay. So the next morning I wake up with a fever. So I'm getting double
manifested.
whammied. I'm getting double manifested in the morning. And I wake up to her offer in my inbox. Excuse me. And it is on some set of paperwork that I couldn't
Make sense of.
Make sense of it. It was from freeforms.net.
Oh, wow.
I couldn't find a closing date. There just are things that make a legal contract a contract.
Yeah.
And some of them were not on this contract. So I was like, well, this isn't going to fly.
Yeah.
Also, she sent it to me in 3 or 4 emails.
Oh, no.
And I told her, she said, my scanner's broken. And I said, just take pictures and send them to me. But they're like giant files. So I'm just like, okay, here we go. Okay, I get them. So I get them organized. I get them downloaded. I realize I'm missing page 1, which has, of course, some of the terms that we need on it, because not all of them, because I don't know where the terms are.
Oh my gosh.
So I send her a message back and I'm like, hey, I'm going to present this to my seller, but I need page 1 because we don't have all the terms. And then I also think I need to send this to my broker to just see
what's up,
how
'cause
I
this is weird.
do this. Yeah. Exactly. So I did. I said, she sends me page 1. I send the whole thing to our broker. In the meantime, and the broker said, yeah. Anyway, I'm waiting for the broker to respond because I said, I really don't want to do anything until she responds, but I will present your basic terms to my seller so she knows we have an offer and whatever. So I verbally present the terms. I'm still trying to find them all. But I let the seller know what's going on. Now, in the meantime, now it's Saturday. We have an open house and like 20 groups are coming through. And my seller says, well, with how many, and there's like 7 showings all of a sudden booked for this weekend. And she's like, I'd really like to not respond to this until the end of the weekend anyway. I really want both opens to happen. We just have such big traffic this weekend. So I was like, great. That'll give me and her time to figure out getting this on some forms that make sense to me. Okay. So I go back to her and I said, I still haven't heard from my broker, but my gut says that we're going to need like standard Minnesota forms to move forward on this. And she says, okay, great. I'll get them to you tomorrow. And I was like, okay. So the next day I wake up and it is another set of documents that don't make any sense and that I've never seen before. Now they said Minnesota standard purchase agreement on them, but it's not like our purchase agreement and it's very confusing. And again, I still couldn't find the closing date. And I'm starting to think like there's like weird disclosure stuff. Like the disclosure is in the contract and this is a disclosure alternative because it's a triplex. Like there was all this stuff.
So weird.
And now I'm at 104-degree fever and I'm just like, oh boy, this is too much. I don't know what to do with this.
A lot, yeah.
So I again, I print it out and I'm like highlighting terms and trying to be like, what do I do with this? And my broker responds and she said, well, in the state of Minnesota, the law says it has to be on paper to present it. That's it. So I was like, okay, well, I already presented it. So I did that. And I said, can I please share with her our contracts so that I have because now I'm starting to get calls. I have multiple offers coming in. And I'm like, I can't even compare this to other offers because it's not apples to apples. It's missing terms. It's got extra terms. Do I have to explain all of this to my client? And then I was like, this is getting really confusing. So she said, because it was in the interest of our seller, and again, this is Minnesota state law and this is our broker specific, please share if you have other ideas about this. But she said, because it's in the best interest of our seller, I think it falls under the guise that you can share the contracts with her to fill out.
Yeah,
you can't fill them out with her. You can't fill them out for her.
No facilitation.
You can't facilitate because you're already representing the seller. So I sent them over to her. She's super gracious because now I've asked her to fill out forms. This is the third set.
Yeah.
And she's like, yep, I'll get them back to you. So I'm like, okay. So
I'm like, I want to know who this woman is because I feel like she's got a lot of.
Jennifer, she ended up being the winning bid.
Frick yeah. I was kind of rooting for her.
So, and in that case.
Have you talked to her?
Yeah. I've had multiple phone conversations with her. She came to the house 3 times over the weekend. That's my understanding. Yeah. Again, I'm not asking her a ton. I'm treating her like she's an agent.
Yeah.
Because I can't coach her. I can't guide her. I can't represent her.
Yeah,
and I did share with my seller talking about like the multiple offers and talking about their agent, right? I said, no, this is an unrepresented person. I need you to know that there could be times where I'm going to have to walk a tightrope a little bit because my job is to make sure that I'm representing you and getting the deal to move forward, but I cannot represent her and I cannot step in and help her or teach her or guide her.
And if she doesn't know how to,
And sometimes that's going to be in conflict with best representing you. And I'm probably going to need to ask my broker multiple times if things don't go perfect. Like if everything goes perfectly,
that's such a good, okay, I'm just going to pause and just like teaching moment. That's such a good example of like pre-communication of like setting an expectation and just saying, hey, I'm letting you know so that you're not in the transaction responding and reacting to like, ooh, there's a hairy mess happening. And now I have to try to explain it. The fact that you had that foresight, you laid that out. That's so good. Good job.
Thank you.
Yeah.
But yeah, and I just, and my go-to is call my broker. The second I'm like, about anything that feels at all goofy. And I don't call her that often, but I will 100% check in with her. So I just thought that was really funny that
all came up.
Literally just was like, kind of scripting my buns off about going up against and being like, well, good luck. And like, you really want representation and here's why, and really pushing that people want representation. And I will say my seller really wanted her to have representation. She was like, why will she just not call an agent? Like, please.
Did she have a lower price or a higher price point because she wasn't like what? Was it compensated somewhere in the terms of the offer?
Well, she's not asking for buyer broker compensation.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So
what was the price point of the property? Can you
$650,000.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So we're talking 18 grand ish.
Yeah. So yeah. She also came in with banging other terms.
Yeah.
I mean, all the terms were very strong. I can't disclose those because we're in negotiations
Must
still.
be so interesting. I'm like, once this closes, I feel like we should reach out to her and like get her story. Like, what's her story?
Yeah.
What is she doing? Why is she doing this?
Well, and I think she wanted, because in the first phone call she led with, I'm not represented, but that means your seller doesn't have to pay a broker compensation.
Yeah.
Or I won't be asking for one.
Yeah.
And so I think it was
But she's got to know enough.
bottom line.
Or like, I'm kind of just curious, like, does she know a realtor? Is she researching this stuff online? Like, she's got to know enough, because I was just talking to my mom about this morning, about a relative of ours who is like thinking of selling a property and maybe like not as concerned about representation, and well, she could make more money if she didn't have an agent. I'm like, I would just argue that all day long.
Yeah.
Because of all of the points of a transaction where you can negotiate, like we're just talking about an escalation clause. That could be a $30,000, $40,000 difference on a 10% difference on a property. In real life circumstances, we were just talking about in here, based on just like knowledge of what an escalation clause is and like what your options are on how to handle it.
Yeah.
So it's, I don't know. I would argue it all day long. Like, it's better to have representation, but she seems to be making it happen.
Yes, and again, I can't disclose all the terms she gave, but I will say no one else was willing to give the terms that she gave.
Yeah.
Are they the best for her?
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
I don't know.
Yeah.
They were really good for my seller, though.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
on the flip side, representing herself as a buyer, is she doing the best thing for her?
herself?
Maybe.
Yeah.
What's her goal?
Yeah.
To get the property at all costs,
Yeah.
or something else, right? So
Yeah.
but it was
I feel like this has been a fascinating Happyish hour.
Oh, well, don't give me too much time just sitting alone. I'll come in with some stories and some topics.
Oh, it's good.
That's all I got.
Good. All right. This is good. Is that it?
We did it.
That's all for today's episode of Real Estate Done Rightish, Happyish Hour edition. Until next time, cheers to doing it rightish.
We'll try. I'll just do it as fast as it feels okay.
The information, opinions, and recommendations presented in this podcast are for general knowledge and informational purposes only and do not constitute professional, legal, or financial advice. As licensed real estate agents in the state of Minnesota, we are not attorneys, financial advisors, or tax professionals, and we cannot provide advice in those areas or in regards to any agency or broker-specific topics in any other state. Any reliance you place on the information provided in this podcast is strictly at your own risk. We strongly encourage you to consult with qualified professionals for specific guidance related to your individual circumstances.
Wow! That was good. All right. Holy
I feel like COVID gave me superpowers. Everything's really just coming up roses for me today.
That's great. So little, like Should I wait to pour this till we start?
It's up to you. I'm not drinking.
I figured you wouldn't be, but
Yeah.
I would like to have a glass of wine.
I think you should have two.
Do I think I fill her up, Buttercup? You know? Hey, this is almost our brand color.
Hey, look
Isn't
at
that cute?
What's the front look like? Oh yeah, I've had that before.
My mom picked it up.
You know what's weird?
Huh.
Is that right now it looks like that wall is that color. What did we say again?
Welcome to Real Estate Done Rightish, Happyish Hour edition. I'm Jen.
And I'm Annalie. And for
a combined 30 years. We've been working.
And for a combined 30 years, we've been working in this industry just trying to figure it out. And by figuring out, we mean...
We've only cried in our cars twice this week.
Okay.
We got